Hey, what's up, my friends? This video by Carpo here. Shit, it's gonna be about a motivation. I'm gonna do my best to try to talk for a minute about something that I lack strongly. Now, I guess I'll be brutally honest here. There's two things that I really lack that actually bother me, or things that I'm working on improving. One of those things is patience. I can be very patient about some things. I don't get impatient about things that are coming up, like going to concerts or trips or vacations. I don't get impatient about, particular events I'm looking forward to. I do, however, get impatient in day-to-day activities, meaning that even if I'm on the road, no matter how relaxed or chill I am, it seems like there's always somebody going too slow or cutting me off or whatnot. And I've driven with people who are otherwise maybe even seem less patient in daily life than I am, but when it comes to traffic, it just doesn't even faze them. They just drive along. So there are certain things that I'm impatient about. And generally they're silly things, because what's the hurry for anything? And I sit and I think that to myself, yet the impatience still comes. And that's something I've worked on for a long time. Now the second thing in the discussion on this that I guess I wanted to really talk about was motivation. What exactly are we supposed to be motivated to do? And this is a very difficult question for me to answer. The reason I'm making this video is because I woke up and got my day going, and I have all these things, and I'm going to do all this housework. I'm going to clean the hell out of the house and scrub and organize. And to be honest, it'll probably only take me a few hours to get everything done I want to get done. But I will put it off for days. And having two kids running around the house making messes and dumping stuff all over the place, pulling their toys out, I mean, yeah, sure, you can only do so much as a parent before you go insane if you try to keep it completely clean. But this isn't really about keeping a house clean or picking up or doing dishes. This is more about all the all-around things that I need to get done. There's a little fence over there I need to fix. A couple things I need to, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's just life stuff, little things, but things that are in the long run important. Got a car out front with a flat tire that I need to get taken care of, and get the car fixed. And it's not just a flat tire; the car's messed up. But there's all these things I think about on a daily basis that I know I need to accomplish, and I'll wake up in the morning with this idea that I'm going to get shit done. And I get into the day, and I get energized, and I get motivated and focused, but not on the right thing. And that's where I was going with this. That I don't have any problem being focused and motivated. I have a problem being focused and motivated on the things that I believe I'm supposed to get done, or mostly things that affect others, such as something my wife wants me to get done. Now, if you're married, you know exactly how that goes. You may not mind so much if something's a certain way, but your wife or husband may, and so you want to do that to make them happy. So you're not only trying to motivate to do things that you like, but also motivate to do things that you know will help others, because that will bring you happiness to see others happy. I'm sure you all understand that concept, so I don't really need to go into it, but our happiness is often at the mercy of others. Now, if you're single, you don't have to answer to anybody, or you don't have kids, and you can pretty much live your life the way you want to. You can choose your motivation, you can choose your level of income, you can choose your level of what you deem important, I guess. But anyway, back to having things to get done and being motivated to do them. The brain has its own reward system, and this is of course why we end up eating too much sugar. Sugar basically acts on the brain just like cocaine does, in a way. It's a reward system, and as I take a sip of my sugary coffee, which I've tried to switch to artificial sweeteners, and that's another one. It's motivating to get not just things done, but motivating to stop doing certain things. I think that would be more self-control, or making changes. So anyway, changes become more difficult as you get older. Everybody knows that. Well, if they're older. You know, your brain is designed to come into a way of understanding itself, so you can set that aside and just live. In other words, the older you get, the more your neural connections wire into a permanent state, more and more you become who you're going to be, if you will. And you become less pliable, less moldable, which can be a good thing, but it's also not a good thing if you need to just flip a switch and decide, I'm going to start doing this. And it's difficult. I could give you a perfect example. I was a carpenter for years. I got into finished carpentry towards the end, and I did a lot of fine cabinetry and woodwork, and I just loved doing it. But doing that kind of construction requires lifting no matter what you do. It doesn't matter how small the work is. If you can't lift a sheet of plywood, you've got problems. Which I can, but not just over and over repetitiously. And moving stuff just messes me up, and it's painful. So I quit my job and decided to start working for myself. I was independent at the time, but I wanted to do something that was less damaging on the body. So I had to reformulate and motivate myself to start all over. You know, for a while, a couple of years ago, I wrote a book. I didn't spend very much long on it, but then I put it out on like Kindle or something, and like the Kindle self-publishing deal. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, you know, I could have spent more time on this book, or I could have done something else with that time. In other words, I was motivated in that time to write the book, but I wasn't motivated to do anything else that I needed to do. Eventually, you know, like almost a year ago now, I started my herb business, and it's very difficult to even motivate to do that, because we're talking about, you know, something I love, something I have a passion for, but I want to do it a certain way. And the world of business requires you to do it a different way. You're forced to have a business account, tax ID numbers, and all these things. And so my point here on this part is that it's very difficult to motivate to do what society deems to be normal, in the sense of getting a career, getting you know, a comfortable living situation, I guess, that works for you, to where you're making enough and you're doing what you like. And it's hard to motivate to do sometimes the things that we know we should get done. So, in a nutshell, by making this video, I'm setting myself up for a day of progress and productivity. Because by doing this, I spent the last 8 minutes talking about how unmotivated I am to do certain things. But the one thing I'd like to add, so it doesn't seem like I'm just a lazy bum, you know, is that I work my ass off doing other things. I get really focused when I'm doing certain particular things. It just tends to be something that doesn't need to get done. And this is why I stepped back from the whole thing, and I started asking myself, does anything need to get done? In other words, we can all look at the little motivations we need to have to get our jobs and to keep our careers going, to keep our family fed, to put a roof over our head. But when you stretch it out long term and you really think about it, you think, well, maybe there's a reason why I'm not motivated to do certain things. Because much of what we've become is kind of disgusting. And I'm not going to blame humanity. I'm not going to blame nature. I'm not going to just say that. I guess I'll just say that's just the way it is. That humans by nature have created a system of living which my parents' generation was told, go to college, have a career, retire, get your white picket fence, collect Social Security, and then die. And my generation, and I believe some of my parents' generation, such the 60s hippies type, were able to break away from that paradigm. And in the end, after complaining about the system the way it is, and all the problems in the world, we're still left with that reality that it's us and our lives. That you can fight against the way that society goes and say, I'm not going to motivate to do that, I'm not going to motivate to do that. But in your heart is the only place that you're really going to know whether those motivations are necessary or not. In other words, you can sit and tell yourself, I don't need to do this, I don't need to do this, I don't need to do this. But if in your heart you feel like you do need to do that, then no matter how much you talk about doing it, in other words, if you need to do something and in your heart you're saying you don't, you're saying screw that, then your heart will make you do it. It will force you into guilt to do it. Sometimes we have to ask whether this is a programming issue or something that we really feel in our hearts instinctively that we need to do. And that's a tough one, knowing intuition from learned behavior. However, that also flips around to the opposite end, to where sometimes there's something that we really want to do, and we really are motivated to do, but deep in our hearts we know that it's unproductive and it's not going anywhere. But I have to say that on the line of those particular things, I think it's really important to analyze. In other words, if you really want to do something, but others are telling you it's not productive, it's not going to accomplish anything, just think about art for a minute, okay? So many artists out there have spent days, weeks, months painting or drawing pictures or writing poems or books that never got seen by people, have never been seen by people or by very few people. And art that spent, that speaks volumes about humanity, yet isn't quite understood by a lot of people, therefore it kind of gets cast aside. These little things that we do, I can give you a better example. The mandalas that they make in the Buddhist temples. They get colored sand, and you've probably seen this. If you haven't, look it up, it's fascinating. They've been doing this for centuries. They take colored sand of many different colors, and they start in the center and work their way out with all these crazy little patterns and make this monstrous, beautiful mandala. I don't know, 6 feet across or something, maybe more. Depends on the size. And as soon as it's finished and they put the very last bit of sand in, they grab a broom and they sweep it all away. They don't even spend the time to look at it, because the whole point is to create and to destroy. It's a symbol of temporal existence. And that metaphor is the metaphor for humanity. But not just for humanity, but for everything that we create. To remember that we do want to carry on, and we do want to be recognized, and we do want people to appreciate the things that we've created, and we do want to make an impact, but in the end, really it's important to know in our hearts that we've done what we can. Not what we've shown the world, because that'll fade, but what we've shown ourselves. And that means that we take initiative to do the things that we feel we need to do. And that's difficult, because if you feel in your heart that you want to be a free spirit, and you want to go up in the mountains and hiking and escape society, but you have a responsibility to your family or to your friends or to an obligation to a job, you have to choose whether these things are more important. To me, my family is much more important than any type of, traveling the world or freedom. However, when I was younger, I didn't maybe not have known that. When I first met my wife, I thought, do I want to settle down or do I want to travel? But love always wins the day, and you figure out that priorities will tell you what they are. You don't have to ask. So just follow your heart, and know when following your heart means that you're deluding yourself, and that's a very difficult thing to know. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and motivate, get some shit done.